Hello and welcome to another episode of Zero to Hero. In this episode we're going to talk about the Feudal Age and the varying strategies that you can execute during this time. I won't be covering everything to do with the water maps, as I'll be saving water builds entirely for another video. Deciding a strategy is extremely important, and your strategy decision should be influenced by two things: your civilization and the map. You should already get a good idea of what you intend to do during the Dark Age as you begin to scout and get a good idea about the map that you are on. By the Feudal Age, you should be ready to really start executing whatever strategy you've decided at that stage. As a general rule, on open maps it is more common to make a Feudal Age rush, and on closed maps it's much more common to see a fast castle. Of course, the exact specifics of the Feudal Rush will be influenced by your civilization, and you should use my individual civilization guides to work out exactly what unit combinations, etc. that you should go for. There's three main Feudal Rush strategies, and a few variants of these too. There's also the Feudal Age for the fast castle, which we will look at first. In the event of fast castling, your Feudal Age will be fairly short, and you'll pretty much spend very little time in the Feudal Age building villages or anything of that sort, as you will almost have the 800 food and the 200 gold that you require to advance straight to the Castle Age by the time you actually reach the Feudal Age. Upon reaching the Feudal Age, you should create one or two extra villages and task them to wood. And you should also build a market and a blacksmith the second you advance, so that you can upgrade to the Castle Age as soon as these buildings are made. If you're intending to boom in the Castle Age and add in extra town centres, then you're actually best to remove your gold miners and task them to food and wood instead, so that you can afford to build the new town centres and have some surplus food to build villages with as soon as you reach the Castle Age. Only do that, of course, once you've got the 200 gold that you require to advance up to the Feudal Age, the Castle Age even. It's important to also get the bit axe upgrade whilst the Castle Age research is completing, as well as horse collar from the mill. Bear in mind that you should really only fast castle on a closed map or when you're in the pocket position in a team game. If you are in a team game and you're playing as pocket, consider making knights once you've reached the Castle Age to help your teammates out, rather than adding in two town centres straight away. We'll talk more about that in the Castle Age guide video though. Now for the exciting part, Feudal Rushing, or Flushing as it's more commonly known. In the Feudal Age, you have access to 5 units. They are the Militia, the Man-at-Arms, the Spearman, the Archer, the Skirmisher, and the Scout Cavalry. There's 6 I suppose if you count villagers, but it's not very common to really be fighting with those, but they can get involved as well. Well, basically your options are fairly limited, but it's very important to remember that each of these units has a very distinct use and a purpose in the Feudal Age. Age of Empires 2 is a game of counters, and for the Feudal Age, the main counters you need to know are: Spearmen beat Scouts, Scouts beat Skirmishers, Skirmishers beat Archers, and Archers beat Spearmen. There are more unit strengths and weaknesses that I haven't even mentioned there, such as the Militia, but for this tutorial we'll keep these counters alone in mind. The first Feudal Rush strategy is to make scouts as soon as you reach the Feudal Age. This requires both a barracks and a stable, and also quite a lot of food. If you're planning on making scouts in the Feudal Age, then you should really ensure that you keep adding villagers to gather food. The last thing you want is to end up having an idle town centre because you built too many scouts. The most common number to see though is 4 scouts, your initial scout plus 3 new ones from the stable that you've just built. It's worth mentioning that scouts also get an extra +2 attack once you reach the Feudal Age, so they're much more effective once you actually age up. In fact, if a villager of your opponent is building something quite far from the town centre, one scout alone could pick off that villager before they make it back to the TC if you start attacking. So they really do become much more versatile once they reach the Feudal Age. They also do significant damage, as I said, with just a small number, so that's one reason why they're good. And also, the fact that they're quite fast means that they can close gaps very quickly, and they're very good at hitting and running, and really disrupting your opponent's economy. You should aim to head straight for your opponent's wood or gold, and make sure that you prioritise the resource that is furthest from their town centre. So if the wood is further away, then go for the wood. If the gold is further away, go to hit their gold. But make sure you keep a close eye on your scouts, because they will die quickly to any town centre fire or enemy spearmen. The main disadvantage of a scout rush is that it is easy to counter. And many players will add 1 or 2 spearmen to protect their wood or gold mining areas, and usually that will be enough to deal with your scouts easily. You could also do the same as well. Adding in a couple of spearmen is never a problem at all if you go up to the Feudal Age and you've got resources that might be quite far from your town centre. So yeah, remember though that spearmen are really only a defensive unit, and you shouldn't really mass a lot of them in the Feudal Age because they are pretty weak once you get up to the Castle Age. The other downside to making a lot of scouts in Feudal is that it will slow down your Castle Age upgrade. The 80 food it takes to build 1 scout, it actually adds up to quite a lot, and it will make it much harder to reach the 800 food you need to click up to Castle. The second Feudal Rush strategy is to make archers, from either 2 or 3 archery ranges depending on your civilization. Usually, if you've made scouts initially, you can switch into archers with making 2 archery ranges. Or if you're playing as, for instance, Mayans or Aztecs, then you can add in 3 archery ranges straight away as they don't have access to a stable. Archers, they will require a lot of gold income to sustain, but they don't require any food, and this means that it is possible to create a lot of archers and click up to the Castle Age in a reasonable time. Archers are one of the most used Feudal Age units due to their versatility. They're effective against infantry, so killing spearmen and militia are really not a problem for them. And they're also very easily capable of killing scouts once they're massed up enough. Just remember to get fletching from the blacksmith and you should be alright. Archers are also great at killing villagers. Their range means that they can strike from a distance, and once you have a good number of archers massed up, they will be able to kill villagers extremely quickly before your opponent even has time to react. There isn't really a big downside to archers at all, aside from being countered easily by skirmishers, and that is exactly why the scout and archer combination is so powerful. In prolonged feudal wars, players should always aim to create the scout-archer combination, as it's by far the strongest you can make. In most situations, however, a prolonged feudal war doesn't actually happen, as players will aim to go up to the Castle Age so that they can access the stronger units. The final main feudal rush strategy is to make a tower rush. Often seen on maps such as Nomad, or really any open map, the tower rush can be extremely effective, but it does come at some cost if it fails. Sending 4 villagers forward to tower your opponent's wood or gold, it can be a great move, or even a finishing blow if you're also attacking with units. However, going all out into a tower rush can also be an effective strategy as long as you do the following things. First, always try and make your first tower out of sight of your opponent. If your opponent sees your first tower, they can very easily put up a counter tower and take your tower out straight away. Building a tower out of sight first also means that you will have covering fire for when you build the second tower. So if your opponent does try and rush the tower with villagers, your second tower will be there and it will pick off those villagers very quickly, which is something that will force your opponent away. Always ensure that you build palisade walls around the base of your towers as well, and this will prevent the enemy from rushing your towers with villagers and taking it down in a matter of seconds. Keep building the towers within range of each other and try to target your opponent's wood or gold. An effective tower rush can actually cripple your opponent, and it will give you the chance to gain a huge economic lead back home. There are, of course, many other Feudal Age strategies that you can go for, but I've covered what I think are the 3 main strategies that you will see at all levels of play. For the sake of keeping this video from lasting 40 minutes, I think I'll leave it at that. One final thing to note though, is that you should always be thinking about the Castle Age. In many situations, the game will never end in the Feudal Age, and once one player reaches the Castle Age, they can really begin to press an advantage with the access to siege, knights and crossbowmen. Whatever strategy you go for though, never ever forget your economic upgrades, and always aim to get the wheelbarrow upgrade between 15 and 17 minutes in game time, and that will make your economy much more effective. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments section below. I hope this has been useful, and I will see you next time.